Hello, YouTube. This is my first long form video, and I just wanted to riff and get something out there. I know I'm going to look back at this video and laugh, and it doesn't do any of the principles of hooking you in or anything like that. And so if you're still watching after 20 seconds, the reason I'm making this video is for two things. One, I want to talk about why you might want to consider fasting and how it could potentially change your life. And two, just the overall goal of this channel, right? So to do that, let's tell a story. It was November 2024, and I had been in a rut for about 2 or 3 months. I had just stopped working on a business with a partner in August. I called them up and said, hey, look, it's been a great ride, but I don't think we're going to continue this anymore. In fact, I didn't say I don't think, I just said, look, I'm out. And right after that, I caught a sinus infection, which is something I get recurring, but this one was a little bit different. It stayed for 2.5 months. And, if you've ever had a sinus infection, you have head pressure, your ears are kind of plugged, you've got green mucus coming out. And so after like 6 or 7 weeks, I went to go see the doctor and they gave me some medicine. That didn't work. And eventually they said, it could be bacterial. So try antibiotics. I don't love taking my antibiotics, but I was like, okay, let's do it. And so I take it and it doesn't get better. So we're about 2.5 months in, and all of a sudden, I'm just getting these, little downloads, little intuition to try fasting. And a little bit of a, like a backstory. I'm a meditator, breath work. I've done magic mushrooms. I'm into tapping into myself, going inward. And I felt like during this 2.5 month rut, not only was I sick, but I was just unmotivated. I didn't know what to work on business wise. It was very, very flat, and it was a very strange time. And I remember not having any clarity about what I wanted to do, but the only thing I could get clarity on was I just kept being reminded, like, hey, try a fast. And I had done, maybe 16, 18 hours intermittent fasting, but I'd never done a big one. So I woke up more sick than usual. It kind of went through fluctuations at this point, 2.5 months in, but consistently I was hacking green phlegm out. And I woke up and I was like, I'm just going to go for a 72-hour fast out of nowhere. And I made it to 24 hours. And I remember my body feeling a way I've never felt before. It was like, you're really hungry, but all of a sudden it was like this internal energy source, right? Because you're not getting your energy from food. And I was like, this feels really different. Like, what is powering me up right now? Why is my mind so hyper clear, yet at the same time, I'm super hungry? And so I made it to the next day, and I ended up eating at 42 hours. I was, around my family, my wife, my kid, and I just don't think it was an appropriate situation for my first time to be around them for the weekend and all that stuff. So I did back out of it, but it gave me enough of a taste. I was super curious already. And then after that, I was like, there's something here. And so I was preparing for an upcoming trip back to the US because I live in Spain and to see my parents. And I was like, I'm going to go for the 72-hour fast. And so in November 2024, I completed my first 72-hour fast. I had breakthroughs mentally and physically. The sinus infection, the phlegm completely went away after that. So I was sold on it from that perspective, but more so on the spiritual intuition side. And this is why I think you might want to consider prolonged fasting, right? If you are an entrepreneur who runs a business, or you're just generally like a curious person, maybe you've tried, magic mushrooms, maybe you meditate, maybe you do breath work, maybe you journal, whatever you do to gain insight, whether it's to solve a problem, business, life, we all have blockages. We all try to brainstorm. We all try to gain clarity. And what I'm saying is that fasting is a tool that I have found that mimics a lot of the experience of magic mushrooms in terms of rewiring your brain. I think it resets your dopamine system. You see everything from a different perspective. And after that, things just completely changed for me from a mental perspective. And I will say this: I've always been sort of a people pleaser slash avoid confrontation. And during that first 72-hour fast, on about day two and a half, all of a sudden, this recurring thing that was happening in my life, this conversation that I couldn't confront and have, all of a sudden I was able to have that conversation. And the fasting tapped me into something that allowed me to kind of have this big breakthrough. And so not only did I heal my body, but I had this massive breakthrough where I had a conversation and I broke out of an old pattern that I had been stuck in for such a long time. And so fasting is just this magical tool that allows us to tap into this state. And I think what happens is it's because if you're this hungry and you're fasting, your body kind of goes into a survival mode, right? So it's not worried about, these trivial things in life, right? Oh, you got to have this conversation about confronting someone, or, this person said this and it's kind of rubbing you the wrong way. When you're in a fasted state, you're just like dialed in because your mind's like, your body and your mind are like, hey, we have to survive. So we don't have time for that shit. So you got to deal with the shit that actually is important. And so, think about it like this, right? Imagine you're someone who is self-conscious and you don't like to, confront or rock the boat in social situations. But let's say you're walking in the park and you got to shit your pants, right? You're going to run to the bush. If someone sees you while they run the bush and they're wondering what you're doing, you don't care, because what are you going to do? You're in survival mode. And so I think that's a good analogy to what shrooms does. But for your personal life, your business life, any type of brainstorming, every single time I've done a 72-hour fast, and by the way, you can do different variations and test different things. But for me personally, I've done a 72-hour fast, I think 3 times. I made it up to 62 another time. So more or less, I've done about 4 of these things. And every single time I walk away with a new insight, a new perspective. I look back at my journal notes, and it's just the reset that I need. And so the purpose of this channel is to really share what I know. I'm not a Dr. Mindy Pels. I'm not a big authority figure. I'm a guy who is trying to be as transparent as possible, tell you my experiences so far with fasting. How often do I do this? So, as someone who's not got a ton of fat, I can't be doing 72-hour fast too often, because I have admittedly lost some weight in this process. I do feel stronger and better, and there's going to be a lot of other videos I'll talk about with some of the benefits physically and all that side of it. But I would say it's a really good cadence for me to do a 72-hour fast, probably once every quarter, so about 4 times per year. At some point in the future, I am being called, and I am very intrigued to try different variations of it. Maybe getting up to a 7-day fast. There are people that do 21-day fast. There's people that do 40-day fast. Jesus did a 40-day fast, right? So there's some crazy, crazy levels. And just one thing I wanted to add in there is if you consider yourself a spiritual person or someone who, believes in God or some higher power, universe, whatever you want to call it, we have these human bodies. And, while we have to eat, I love food. I'm not saying food is anything evil. It oftentimes, or at least for me, clogs up my ability to tap into my higher states, my intuition. My meditations just don't go quite as deep, right? And so these bodies can kind of get in the way sometimes of connecting us. And when you remove food from the body, you're essentially starving the flesh, and it's a humbling experience, right? To not have food. And I swear, you are just dialed in. If you've ever felt like you've gotten downloads or intuition, when you are in a deep fasted state, it's just to the next level. Your breath works are next level. Like you are taken to a place. Your meditations are next level. Your journalings are next level. So yeah, really, this is one guy who had a profound experience, and I feel like it is my duty to share my journey, my learnings, and at the end of the day, if I can get just one person to get inspired and try a multi-day fast and have big breakthroughs, that's why I feel like I'm doing this. So if it's been something you've been considering, leave a comment. If you have any questions, there's definitely a lot of things that I've learned in this journey in terms of how would I prepare for it? Little tactical tips and tricks, how you not get a headache, how do you sleep a little bit better? How do you get the most out of your attention and intention and your journaling and stuff like that? So, yeah, I plan to create a lot more tactical videos as well as these more holistic overview, kind of diving into, some of the more subtle breakthroughs mentally, spiritually, and stuff like that. So, appreciate it. First video, YouTube. Thank you.